Welcome to another AVID Chat. David Harpole and Jack Arnold. Jack, good to see you as always. How's it going over there?
It's going pretty good. Weather's nice today. It's sunny outside, even though it's getting very humid. It's another sunny day.
We're getting close. We're getting close. Well, thanks for joining us again today for an AVID Chat. This one is going to start a 5-part series that we're calling AVID's 5 Degrees of Financial Freedom in Under 15 Minutes. So we're going to start today with what we believe is the most important thing as you have a journey towards financial freedom. And that really is defining and starting with a clear vision. It's a really broad topic, so we're going to try to narrow it down into some key points, but I think it's clear or important just to start with, what does that even mean and why is it important to have a clear vision?
Right. Well, first off, we're going to go through more of these degrees or steps or levels or whatever you want to call them, of kind of getting things together. Before you start kind of moving in a direction, though, and speeding off and trying to accomplish something, is you kind of have to point yourself in the right direction. So, right. You don't want to start going way off. And we've even talked about this in other videos, is you start doing these kind of tactical things. I'm this and that and this and that. And then you find that you're in a place that you didn't want to end up in the first place. You ended up somewhere that you weren't really shooting to end up. So the first degree essentially is just where am I heading? What direction am I, for now anyways, pointed towards what I'm trying to do? Right.
And I think some of the important things about that is it really does help in a lot of areas. One, you just have some sort of forward, momentum to say, okay, this is what I'm working towards. And this could be this is what we are working towards. This isn't an isolated thing. If you're in a relationship of any sorts and, you're pulling together, it's important for the two of you to have some sort of clear vision, because I believe, and even in my own experience and with clients that we've been working with, it really helps motivate you to stay on the little tiny tasks that you do,
No doubt. Well, there's also kind of those tedious, I guess, steps or things that you're trying to do on the way there. If you're doing them for the sake of doing the steps, sometimes you can lose focus, or I hate using motivation just because motivation is like very finicky. Sometimes True. It's there and sometimes it isn't. So relying on it is I don't know that dangerous is the right word, but it's not likely going to work if you're just relying on being motivated to do things. So sometimes you got to rely on some accomplishing of some grander vision than,
right.
The little things. Getting a 6-pack is really not a really kind of grand vision of going to the gym. It might happen, well, I suppose.
If you're 18 and heading to spring break, it might be.
Right. Yeah, right. Maybe it is. I don't know. But it's something that you're not going to get so juiced up about it after a while. It's not something that will maintain you. If you had a grander vision, I want to make sure that when I'm 70 years old, I can move around and enjoy being around my friends and family and not be an invalid and walk and be strong and still be able to do physical things. I mean, that's something to shoot for. That's kind of lifelong, So anyways.
Yes. No, I think that's perfect, because that is, when we say vision, that's what we're talking about. A big high level surface. We use the analogy of, think of a mountain. You climb up to the top of the mountain, you're at the very top and you kind of overlook at the valley and have a yes. vision of your life and all of the components on it. That's what we're talking about. Without that, and I agree, I think the motivation is, it's not that. It's really helping you stay true to yourself and follow your aspirations, and having that vision is a great start. I think the other thing that it does for us, and this is definitely true with couples, and Melissa and I are in this group as well, it really helps with communication, right? If I share with you, you're my partner, I share with you what I'm thinking, you share with me what you're thinking, and then collectively say, this is what we're trying to do together. Well, now our conversations we're on the same page and we're focusing towards the same thing. So,
and it's really no different, if you own a business too, having some kind of
True.
grander vision as to what you're trying to do. obviously, we always would joke that, people would come in and we'd say, all right, what would you like your money to do, your investments to do? And the answer is always like, go up. And it's like, of course, like, yes, I understand that. What are you trying to get them to do for you? What is the end, essentially? The means we can talk about, but what is the end? Like, start with the end in mind. If things are perfect and you graded it a perfect 10, describe that situation to me. What do things look like? How is your day to day? What activities are you doing? What activities are you not doing? Which is just as important. Having some kind of, clear vision, as much as you can get clear on a vision, it's such a huge help. And it also makes you more creative, because then you actually have, it's not, you have a problem to solve. Now it's, all right, I'm very clear on what I'm doing. I can be creative in how I actually approach that. And I can try stuff. And if it doesn't work because it's not getting me any close to where I want to be, I scrap it and try something else, which seems random to people around you, maybe even to yourself sometimes. But it's because you're following something other than just little tasks. I'm going to do these tasks because I feel like I should do these tasks, instead of I have a vision, I'm going to try lots of different things in order to get me there.
Yep, no doubt about it. So how do you think that our environment, which I know is a big word, but the things around us can either help support our vision or distract it?
I mean, I don't know what percentage of success. I would say it's a big percentage of your success. I mean, if we've talked even before in the past, is, the moment you start pushing towards something or trying to improve something, we would always, diet stuff or anything for that matter, you're trying to improve, you'll find that people around you, people that you consider your friends and even family, sometimes will be naysayers as to that's not going to work, or what are you doing, and questioning you. And if you're not clear and you're not, somewhat dedicated and, hey, I'm going to do this regardless of what anybody says, it would be hard to push through that. So, we've talked before in the past about, being aware that here's things that are going to change once I start pushing towards that. And some of the things that might change is I might end up having different friends. There's certain people that might not like it. I need to be kind of ready for that. So I think your environment, the people around you, is a huge difference. One other thing is, we've talked before about, your working environment, you spend so much time there. So if you work in an environment where it's almost any kind of office environment where it's kind of super competitive and people are always kind of showing out for each other, whatever, it's going to be so difficult to overcome that. If you're a football player, or any athlete for that matter, it's very, there's tons of testosterone in the room, lots of guys competing with each other. Most of them are very young. A lot of them have lots of money. There's a ton of competition to be the person that spends most, got the new car, that's very difficult to get yourself out of. Valuable, hard. So you just need to be ready for that.
No doubt.
As an example.
No doubt. Yeah. Well, and I think that goes along the lines of, you can have a great vision, but not to be prepared for the distractions. We talk about these a lot too, that are going to come up, is it'd be counterproductive. You have to know that your environment could actually be a distraction. And how do you handle that? And are you truly committed to the vision that you've maybe articulated prior to it? So the other thing that can be a hindrance or a distraction that makes things difficult with the vision, I think, is just time, right? Where are you in your time of life, right? You've gone through different periods. Like I say this all the time, a 4 and a 6-year-old, man, there's not a whole lot of time. So I need to be mindful that any efforts that I'm doing or Melissa and I are doing, it also incorporates into what's going on around me, so that I don't, fall short, or even psychologically be like, oh man, I'll do it later. And 5 years comes, you're like, oh, I wish I would have.
Yeah, I think what we're saying, obviously this is the very first step, is to say that of all the steps, this is the most important thing that you can do, is have a clear vision on where you're headed and what you're trying to accomplish. Being that it's so important, it's just not something you're going to be able to spend 10 minutes on and come up with an idea of what that is. It's going to take some time. If it's not a lot of dedicated time, it might take you a little bit longer. I don't know that you'll ever be perfectly clear on where it is that you're headed, because you'll change over time. So what you think is where you're headed today, or where you want to be headed today, is probably different in 5 years.
Correct.
But being that it is so important, and it's hard, it's extremely difficult to do, is to come up with what are your true feelings about things, and being honest with yourself and the people around you. It's hard to do. And if you're going to do that, you have to know that it's going to take time. So you kind of have to make the time and find the time to actually sit down and figure these things out.
Yeah. So I'm a little biased here because of what we do, but how do you think we can help facilitate? I don't mean as a firm we can, but if you're talking to your neighbor about it, what are some things that you would suggest to them that would help them define and really start to facilitate this clear vision? Anything come to mind?
Well, having an objective third party that has really no dog in the fight, we've talked about this a million times, is probably like the gold standard. Somebody that you can communicate and get your ideas out to, that will listen to you and provide feedback if you want it, and help you work through it yourself. I guess that would be the best. That's difficult to find. Usually it is going to be a professional person, because there's not many people in your life that are going to be objective third parties.
Well, and I think it also, to interrupt real quick, it should be a third party. So again, if you and I are in a relationship, I can share with you all day long my vision and vice versa. But I don't know if we're in a relationship that you would be able to objectively listen and give advice, because you're kind of skin in the game. So it really needs to be outside of your sphere of a relationship. Yeah.
So if that's, a professional's good. They're providing a service to do that. So obviously, like you said, I'm biased, but it certainly helps. I've done it myself. So I've had a third party person help us through these things before. So, and it's valuable for sure. Yep. Short of that, if you do have somebody that's a friend or a family member, preferably somebody who's kind of like a no punches pulled type of person, is they'll be not that they'll be mean about it, but they'll just tell you what they think. Everybody knows what I mean. Everybody has a friend that's just like tell you how it is, and they're not mean about it, I guess. If you can't do that, I guess the last thing, obviously it depends on if you have a spouse, if you're doing this on your own, is you can always write things down. I've talked about the whole 5 why thing before, and working your way down. Why do I want this? Why do I want this? All the way down till you get to kind of the essence of what you're doing. That helps. It is a little bit of a shortcut. I don't know that you'll get as robust of information, but it can work. But mostly writing things down and getting them out of your head is a huge help. No matter what, really. It's
like a personal brainstorming session, which, now that's something that I would say, if you don't have that third party to go to and your significant other, that's a good exercise to do with them, because just someone else with other ideas and thoughts can help facilitate those things, getting them down on paper. There used to be a statistic, it's probably old now, but they said this is more on the goal thing, but I do think it still helps with defining a vision, is you're 94% more likely to accomplish things once they're written down. Yeah. So that's a great place to start, no doubt about it.
Writing things down is severely underrated hack to actually get things done. I underestimate it. I'm still not great about it, but every time I do it, it's amazing. It just gets stuff out on a piece of paper, and just, even if it's random thoughts, just write down a whole page, just like ramblings. Getting like junk out of your mind helps a lot, for sure.
Yeah. So let's assume now that we have a vision, we have a good idea of what we're really trying to do, what the aspiration is, what we're working towards. We've written it down. We have some action steps. Now we would suggest, and this is kind of the last part to it, would be how does your current life, your current experiences, whether that's money habits, lifestyle habits, whatever, match up with that vision?
Right. So I have a theory on how I want things to go. How am I doing right now? Am I headed in that direction? Am I not headed in that direction? So this is where I want to go. How are my habits and my actions matching up with where I want to be headed? And, most of the time they're not going to be aligned, just because you're kind of blindly doing. That's what most of us are doing. Is you wake up, you do what you got to do to get through the day, and then the next day comes. So it's not surprising to find that I want to be headed in this direction and my habits are moving me in another direction.
Right. But you have to know that, because then you can have a starting point to say, okay, these little things need tweaked. I think like if you talk about spending habits, this is an easy thing to pick on. We all probably spend money on things that don't give us as much joy as other things. But without knowing exactly how you're spending your money or where it's going, it's hard to say, okay, I'm overspending on X. I'd rather put it over here on Y, and that will help give me more satisfaction and move me towards the goal. So that's really, I think, what we're trying to say here with what are you doing today, and is it in line with the vision you're talking about?
Yes. Spending habits, how you spend your time, all of those things, for sure.
Right. Well, I think that sums up our first stage to AVID's 5 degrees of financial freedom. Thanks for joining. Next week, we're going to talk about You Incorporated, why we think it's important to view your personal financial situation just like a business does. We'll see you next week, Jack.
All right. See you.